Hi, Crystal. Thank you for joining me. Alrighty. Hi, Shelby. Thank you for joining me. Alrighty. So, let's see. Okay, so we have enough. Hi, Roseanne. So, we have enough people. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. This is Medical Coding with Blue. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. All right, so I was trying to film a couple days ago and it just was not coming out. So for today, and you guys get me today. But I wanted to take some time to answer some of these questions that have been coming in about like the job seeking process and the CPB and the CPCS. Okay. Now I have videos about both of those, right? But one of the things that keeps coming up in the comments about the job seeking process is my resume is automatically getting filtered out because of the ATS reader and things like that, and it's not taking me, or they want me to answer these questions about how much experience do I have, and if I don't answer the 3 to 5 years that they want, then they automatically reject me. Even though they do this, you should still apply anyway because they still will get the resumes. It doesn't really stop. Even though they say it filters out, it still goes to a pot where they will look at whoever applied anyway. So it's not like your resume is completely lost unless that person doesn't really want to deal with anything else at all, or they found somebody who does have experience. So those are going to be their priority people that they look at, people who do have experience. But it should never stop you from applying just because you automatically get a rejection. That's not always the case because they do end up still looking at those resumes. And a lot of times you guys still confirm what they're trying to say, which is the reason that they don't want to hire new people, or that it's very difficult to hire new people, is because they don't really know a lot about what's expected of them. And that has a lot to do with the school. It has a lot to do with, the candidate's expectations as well. But what you should know is that when you are out there and you're applying, that why are you there? A lot of times when I look at people's resumes that are posted on LinkedIn, there is nothing about coding. And they're saying that they want to be a coder. And there's nothing that is transferable to coding. There's nothing that is going to catch the employer's eye in their resume. They say that they went to the school, and then sometimes they don't even put their credentials next to their name at the top. Your credentials should always be next to your name at the top, and they should be in order. They should be in the sequence that they're supposed to be in. If you get like, say for instance, you get the CPC and you also got the CPCS, you're not going to put the CPCS first because that credential is not asked for as much in the industry. If you look at the job listings, you will see that the 4 main medical coding certifications that are asked for are from AHIMA or AAPC. The American Health Information Management Association has the CCS, the gold standard of medical coding credentials, the CCA, the Certified Coding Associate, and the CCSP, the Certified Coding Specialist Physician Based. These are their 3 medical coding certifications. Now with AAPC, they have their CPC, right? The Certified Professional Coder. That is their flagship credential. So when you're out there looking, you're going to want to put the credential that's going to have the heaviest impact. Again, if you have the CPC, let's see, CPCA, and the CPCS, you're going to put that CPCA first, then you're going to put the CPCS. To me personally, it's not something that I would spend too much time on with the CPCS because, again, if you look at the job listings, you're not going to see that asked for very much, if ever at all, okay? So I'm the one who looks at these job listings, okay? I look at job listings from all over the U.S. I look from Florida to New York to California to Michigan to Texas. I look everywhere because I want to know what these employers are looking for. And time again, it's AHIMA or AAPC. So yes, there's other medical coding certifications out there, but you have to ask yourself, is this what the employers want? And you want to start investing in what they want. So if they are not asking for a certain credential, I'm gonna let you put two and two together, okay? But like I said, going back to these resumes have to be good. They have to be right. It has to be on one page. And like they say, okay, well, I tried applying online and it wanted me to check all these boxes and it immediately rejected my resume. So what do we do now? What do we do now? So I was thinking about this very thing and I said, why don't people just mail their resume in to whatever facility they want to work at, right? Because I always tell you guys to quit messing with these headhunters. Quit messing with them, especially when you're brand new, because headhunters are looking for a specific type of person that has certain qualifications, because they are paid by the employer to bring this specific talent to their organization. If they do not bring this specific talent to their organization, the headhunter does not get paid. Therefore, you are wasting your time if you spend any time messing around with them, sending them your resume, telling them your whole life story and all these things. They're not going to help you, okay? They may entertain you, but they will not help you, all right? Majority of the time, all right? Before somebody says, hey, I'm just telling you guys that majority of the time that's the case. So, like I said in the other video a couple of days ago, you want to apply with your local hospitals. Now, again, if your local hospital is saying not all of them will do this, how much experience do you have? If they do that and all of a sudden you get that rejected letter, well, then why can't you just mail in a copy of your resume and your cover letter, specifically identifying the job and the position that you want? Why do I say this? Because everybody's doing everything electronically. Don't you think that if you you mailed in your resume to whoever or wherever, that wouldn't stand out? That would get my attention, because I would be like, this person actually mailed their resume in. I would be very happy with that, because that means you went above and beyond and you took another route, because, okay, yes, you could tell them, I did apply through the electronic means, but I wanted to follow up with this paper resume. And people are staring at their computer screen all day long. It's nice to get something in the mail that where you have to look at something on paper. I'm just saying, this is another way for you guys to problem solve. This is solving a problem. If your problem is that they keep rejecting you, fine, you got to go and pick another way. Will it always work? Maybe, maybe not, okay? And sometimes you may get nothing back in return. But sometimes you may never know. Sometimes it'll get to that right person on the right day at the right time and say, you know what, this person really went above and beyond. Let me go ahead and give them a call, and we'll invite them in for an interview, because their resume looks really good. Again, it needs to be on one page. And that way, you're actually looking at it. There's no messing it up. There's no, it won't load, it won't upload, or it won't do this or won't do that. It's actually on a paper that they can look at. And it's telling them your skills. What are your skills? And skills is not experience. For those of you who want to get smart and say, oh, well, no, I haven't been a coder yet, I can't put that on my skills list. You were trained. You were trained, or you trained yourself. Either way, you took your certification and you passed your exam. Now you have that skill. ICD-10-CM, because so help me if I catch any of you only putting ICD-10, that is lazy, and I would immediately reject your resume, because there's two ICD-10s, ICD-10-CM or ICD-10-PCS. If you only got the ICD-10-CM, that's totally fine, but some people have also ICD-10-PCS, and sometimes they go for AAPC, the CPC certification, but that CPC certification doesn't test them at all on ICD-10-PCS. But if you feel strongly that you can still do it and that you still have that competence, you can certainly put that on your skills list. If you don't like it, because you don't really like coding for inpatient, trust me, I understand. So you can leave that off if you want to. You don't have to put it on there, okay? CPT, HICS, PICS, That's what you want to put there. What else do they ask for in these job listings? Medical terminology. Candidate must be proficient with medical terminology. Do not put on there excellent medical terminology. Those qualifier words, you got to get rid of them because it looks messy and cluttery. We want right to the point. We want medical terminology, anatomy, pathophysiology. That's what we want to see there. Okay. And that's just some of them. And with some of these other skills, I see a lot of people like doubling up on a lot of these skills. You know, they say NCD, LCD edits, NCCI edits. I was like, really? Come on, man. No, you don't need to be doing all that. That's something that you have, that you can see on an encoder, okay? That's not something that it's a skill of yours, okay? That's exactly what that is. It's something that's in the encoder already that comes up, and you don't, it's not a skill. You may have knowledge of it because of learning from, you know, the school or whatever, or you're on your own, but that's not something that's a hardcore skill that you need. If you're looking for those hardcore skills, you will see them in the job listings. Avoid good communication, leadership. I've seen that as well. If you don't want to be a leader, don't say that you have leadership skills. That's something that's natural that they will be able to see. But again, one page resume. And your job history should only go back 10 to 15 years. That's it. No one needs to know that you worked in the 90s or in the early 2000s. No one needs to know that. Even if that was a time that you did coding or whatever. If you did coding in the early 2000s or in the 90s, that's ICD 9 times, and we're no longer in that. Those rules and that thinking does not apply anymore. So just something you guys got to know. But I did see this article that agreed with me about applying and mailing in your resume. So it says snail mail. Now, for those of you Gen Zs that don't know what snail mail is, snail mail means that you are actually taking a envelope and paper, writing out whatever, like in this case, the resume and the cover letter, and putting it in there, addressing it, and putting a stamp on it, or taking to the post office, and then they can stamp it for you depending on, you know, what size envelope you're sending. And then that's it. You go from there. Do not send it to the post office and say, oh, you want a signed receipt, return receipt. Don't get a return receipt. No one has time for that. Don't do that. But just mail your resume, and that's snail mail. When you go to the post office and you send something out, that is called snail mail. And again, everybody's going through electronic way, and you say, okay, I'm going to go with the snail mail way. That resume is going to stand out. But this one, this article, I like this article, and I will post it. It's a blog. But they were saying, in a job market where practically every job posting draws dozens, if not hundreds, sometimes thousands, of electronic applications, old-fashioned snail mail could be the new cutting edge. Think about that, guys. Think about that. My colleague, Jen, recently pointed out this online article about mailing paper resumes. Although I disagree with the premise that you should use crested watermarked stationery, that just screams the 80s to me. To me too. It screams the 80s to me too. I agree that a well-written and formatted paper resume and cover letter could be just the thing to make you stand out. Let's be clear. I am not saying to skip the electronic application process. I want everybody to hear this part. Please hear this part, okay? Because I don't want people saying, well, medical coding with blue said. No, I want you guys to hear this part because I totally agree with this. I am not saying to skip the electronic application process. You should always apply the way that the employer asks. But after that, you could potentially score a lot of points by taking the time to mail an easy on the eyes backup copy of your documents, your resume and cover letter only, okay? With the lightning fast technology that we use to communicate today, taking the time to send something in the mail can convey the message that you're very interested in the job with the company. And then it says, if you decide to try this method, follow these guidelines. Match the cover letter to the resume in terms of like the header and the font and the style and that kind of thing. Print both on premium bright white paper. Use 9-inch by 12-inch envelopes so you don't have to fold your documents. Okay, you don't really want to do that. You don't want to fold your documents. Make them nice and straight. So it's the big envelope. Okay, because the paper is usually like 8.5 by 11 or 8.5 by 12 or whatever. But they're telling you a 9 by 12 envelope would be good, so that you don't have to fold the documents. Address it directly to the hiring manager if possible. Otherwise, address it to the department. So you would put the name of the hospital, and then you would put attention, the department name, right? Wherever, because it'll say in the job listing. With a sticky note that says, please forward to hiring manager for whatever position that you're trying to apply for, okay? And then affix the proper postage to the large size envelope, and then state in your cover letter that you have applied electronically as directed, but that you're following up with a printed version, okay? And another thing too, I was talking with a client, and they were talking about how when they went in for an interview, they had a copy of their resume, and it was good because the interviewer needed a copy, and so she was right there to supply that copy, and guess what? She got the job. So I'm just saying, to be prepared is a good thing, all right? And you never know. It's always with the details. And it says here, I really wish it would say who wrote it. But it says, sending a snail mail resume may or may not help your candidacy, but it can't hurt it, right? In theory, at least, it is a concrete way to show your prospective employer that you're the kind of person who goes that extra mile, attention to detail, and looks for ways to make things easier for the decision makers. Those are good attributes for just about any job. So that's something that should help you when you're out there and you're getting frustrated by all of these automatic rejections. There's always a solution to every problem. Every problem has a solution, and this is just one of them. And if you don't want to do it, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't want to know, because I'm trying to give you guys advice to help you. That's all I'm trying to do, is give you advice to help you. And if your reaction or if your response to me is, I don't want to do that because X, Y, and Z, you're ungrateful. And ungrateful energy begets other ungrateful energy, and that's when you're not going to get anything, because you have to be grateful in life for all the things that you get, big or small, because you can't always only celebrate the big things. You have to be able to celebrate everything. You're celebrating those wins. So if you say, well, I'm kind of nervous to send in a paper resume, but you know what, I'm going to go ahead and go for it, and then watch when your phone rings. I hope you're thinking about me then. I'm just saying. Let's see. Alrighty. So we have, I said hi to Shelby, Roseanne, hi Trees, Tangy, studying now. Okay. Shelby says, I'm working on Practicode, currently on 168 out of 600. Keep it up. There you go. Hi Jamie. Hi Letty, doing great. Thank you for all the blue hearts. Roseanne says, I never see much on the COC because it is very similar to the CPC, the Certified Outpatient Coder for the COC. And the CPC is covering the same thing because it's all outpatient coding. The only difference is that with the COC, there's a little bit more of billing questions on there. And that's really the only difference. Just saying. Let's see. Hi, Alexandria. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Faye. I just got my CCS. Congratulations. And I got a job at as a medical records clerk at a hospital. They said this will give me the experience with their records, and the intention is to eventually promote me to a medical coder. Well, there you go. Okay. So applying for alternative jobs is a good idea for experience. That's great. I'm doing great, Jamie. Thank you for asking. Can you do a video on a resume? I already have. You got to go through my videos. Hi, Adam. Hi, Romy. Hi, Nadia. Nadia says, I was actually working on a cover letter for a job today. Oh, that's awesome. Kathleen says, this mailing a resume is an excellent idea. Isn't it? Because, like, who thinks of that? Like, that's so old fashioned. But you know what? Again, there's not a lot of people in that lane, right, that are doing that. You think you won't stand out? I'm just saying. Um, Adam says, I never thought about mailing my resume, and I should probably do that, right? It's like one of those things. Like, that's an awesome idea because, again, you're not having to compete with all those people that are applying online. You should still apply online, but getting your resume in front of that right person, there you go. Rachel says, I love this. Great idea to mail in the resume. Thanks for listening. Good. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad people like the idea because it's thinking outside the box, right? Because you could send an email, but that email could get lost, right? But not a letter. I'm just saying. So thank you, Letty. You're welcome, Shelby. Thank you for all the hearts, Adam. Nadia says, yes, it's an eye-opener, mailing in your resume. There you go. How about hand delivering a resume? Too much? LOL. Some people will do that, but again, it could get lost. You could hand it to somebody, and that somebody could just be like, I don't care, you know what I mean? Just put it off somewhere. At least with the mail, it's going to go someplace. It's got to go someplace because they can't just leave that out willy-nilly. You know, they have to give it to whoever is, you know, the HR department or whatever. You know, it's going to go where it needs to go. Okay. Kathleen says, old-fashioned is a very good way. It has brought us this far. And there you go. There you go. There's nothing wrong with the old-fashioned way. And this is just another way of like, okay, wow, this person really took the time to send this resume to us. Okay, well, let's go ahead and see, you know, what's going on here. And even though you don't have experience, if you have a really good resume, and then they say, you know, we haven't had any experienced folks applying, so let's go ahead and try this person because they have a really good formatted resume, and you know, we can just give them an assessment test. You know, if anything, them giving you an assessment test that can they can just see what your skills are, and if your skills are up there, think about that. If your skills are up there, then they just hit a gold mine with you. But you have to put yourself in those positions. And running around and complaining and crying and going on and begging and pleading on LinkedIn and, oh, somebody help me and that kind of thing, that's not going to do you any good. That's wasted energy. And it's just, again, it's not going to do you any good at all. It's just going to give you a reputation in the industry that you don't want. So instead of like, this is a problem, this is a solution. You want to kick me off the electronic thing and weed out my resume? Fine. I will mail it to you then. You know, and especially if you really want to work at that organization. Okay. And this is why I keep telling y'all, apply for organizations. Because even though, you know, you say, oh, well, I want to work remotely. You should not work remotely. But especially when you're brand new. But even if that's what you got your heart set on. You never know at these local hospitals if they say, okay, well, we will train you in-house first and then we'll send you home because we don't really have a lot of space at the facility. And there you just got your way. And not only that, you didn't put your information, your personal information at risk applying with these large companies that are always hiring. I would never. There's a whole list of them in my head. I don't say them because I don't want to advertise for those people. But there's a whole bunch of them on LinkedIn that I see that are constantly always hiring. They put out all these things about how much money they give for bonuses and things like that, and sign-on bonuses and this, that, and a third. And I would never apply with those places because if you're hiring that much, what's wrong with your organization? You should be rarely hiring if people are really happy with your organization. But if you're constantly hiring and you want to have all of these demands and everything, no, something's wrong with your organization. I'm just saying. Shelby says, I passed the CPC in July, but didn't feel ready. I honestly feel like Practicode is what is preparing me for the assessment test. Oh, cool. Nicholas says, you mentioned to put your credentials next to your name or underneath. Size of font. I have always matched it with the size of the font that I use when I do my resume. So the your name and then your credentials, they could be the same size. Some people, I've seen them, you know, on LinkedIn or whatever, they make the credentials a little bit smaller. You could make it a little bit smaller if you wanted to, but I mean, I've never had any complaints and people still get jobs when I did that anyway. So I'm just saying, you know, it's not something to like really, really think about. You know, it's just something that, okay, is it formatted? Here we go. And that's what you got to do. You know, that's my advice anyway. So let's talk about the CPB. So I did get a message. Let me bring it up here on Instagram. She says, hello, I've been binge watching your videos. However, I have a couple questions since I'm new to the field. I want to be a medical coder, but I hear, don't listen, stop listening. I hear after getting your CPC, it is difficult to find a job in coding right away. It's coding. Encoder is the electronic code book. Difference, okay? And most people tend to get billing jobs first. Not most. Some people do, okay? But it really all depends. It depends on you, right? Is it better to just go after your CPB cert, then slowly get into coding? I've also researched jobs in my county, in the neighboring county, and it's a 50-50 on needing certification for billing and coding. Some say they just want experience. Some specifically say CPC, or some say graduate of medical billing and coding program. I'm located in California. What do you think is the best route to take for someone who wants to do just coding? Then you apply for just coding positions. You don't necessarily have to start in billing. Billing is a great step into the industry, especially if you feel like you didn't really learn a lot from your school. You still feel like you don't understand like the modifier application, the leveling, and the coding and the sequencing and things like that. If you feel that way, billing is a great first step for you because the coding is already done. All you have to do is process the paperwork and send it off for payment to the insurance company. Insurance company may kick it back and say, you know what, this is, we're rejecting this claim. And they'll put the rejection code or whatever the code is for why it was denied. And then you either send it off to the coder who will fix it, or you've got to fix it. So then in that case, you are doing the billing and the coding. So it's very important when you're interviewing for these jobs that you make sure that you verify what are your roles. If you're doing just billing, or if you're doing billing and then if there's an error or something that comes back, a denial, are you the one who fixes that denial, or is there somebody else that's going to fix that denial? Because again, if that's the case, if you're fixing the denial, then that position is a billing and coding position, and there's a difference between billing positions only or coding positions only. Me, I have always only been a coder. I got my first job by going through a temp agency. And please do not send me a message telling me that you don't want a temp job. I'm telling you what I did. Now, I went through this temp agency. They got me a job. The great thing about working at a temp agency is that you get experience to build onto your resume. And all of that experience, and it could be just anywhere, like any service or any clinic that needs a coder, they're not going to ask you for a ton of years of experience because they're calling the temp agency. The temp agency has already done their job by checking to make sure that you're competent and that you can pass a test. And that's it. They give you an assessment test, which I got an assessment test myself. And they gave me this test and they said, wow, you passed it? Okay, cool. We're going to try to get you a job. They got me a job for 3 months. And then at the end of that job, they said, okay, we're going to pick one of you. I didn't get picked. It was not on technical ability. It was the lady, the lady that I worked with over there. So they said, we can get you another job, but it's going to be, not here. It's going to be out of town. If you want it, you have to move there, and you would be able to have a job for 5 years. I moved. Don't tell me you can't move. I'm telling you my story. I moved there, got my experience. I was there for 6 months. I started to apply immediately because I wanted to get back home. And, I went through a really great interview where I was very confident that I was going to get this job because everything was right on. I had it in my mind as soon as I did the interview. I'm going to pass this interview. I'm going to do really good. I'm going to charm these people, and I'm going to get this job. Well, I didn't get the job. And I called my mom. I was crying. I said, I don't know what I did wrong. My mom's like, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just not your time yet. And so she was right, because mothers are always right. And so then a little while later, they posted another position, but a better position for a coder. And I said, you know what? That was a good interview, and I'm not going to let them forget that that was a good interview. I'm going to apply again. And of course, my name is Blue, so my name stands out. It's kind of hard to forget. So I applied again, and guess what? I got the job. So if I had been one of those people that immediately gives up and just throws in the towel for one rejection, I probably wouldn't be here with all of you, okay? Because who knows? I probably would never even have been here at my forever home, okay? So that's something that you have to think about when you're getting into this industry. Stop listening to these people that don't freaking know. Now, that may be their experience, that they started off in billing. If you start off in billing, that's great, because again, it's less pressure, because the only thing that you're going to have to do is learn how to submit to the insurance company. And a lot of times you don't even need experience for that. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. And again, if you're still just applying anyway for this billing position and they see you, who better to hire than somebody who understands the coding? Because to be a biller, yes, they do have the CPB, which is a certified professional biller. Do you need it? A lot of people ask me, well, do you need it? Again, when you're looking at these job listings, what are they asking for? CCS, CCA, CCSP, or CPC. All of these exams test you on reimbursement. Now, the CPB is just an expanded test of the billing process, okay? Again, how many employers are looking for it? Now, some people will get it because it's part of that package. They have like a CPC plus CPB. Again, guys, AAPC is a business, and that's their business model. They have lots of things that they can sell you, and they also have lots of packages. But again, if you don't know and you're not doing your research, of course it's going to look great. Like, okay, I get, instead of one credential, I get 2 credentials. Okay, well, let me go for this package. Not knowing that you're going to have to spend more money on CEUs, because that's even more CEUs now that you got to get, because it's 36 CEUs for one certification with AAPC. As you go up, it's going to require you to get more CEUs. Now, it's your money. It's your money. You can do whatever that you want to do. But I will tell you this, as somebody who had the CCA for 13 years, only one certification. I ran circles around people who had degrees, who were nurses, who had their RHIA. I still ran circles around them salary-wise with just a CCA. The thing that gets you money in this industry is your brain, is your knowledge, is your competence. That's what gets you money, not the plethora of credentials that you get. Because trust me, even when you have all of these credentials, if you prove your incompetence, you will not be there very long, wherever you're at. Because there's some people who have a whole alphabet after their name who don't really know a lot about applying codes. They know how to pass a test, and they want the prestige of having a bunch of different credentials. But what do these credentials say? Especially if you're breaking down into like different subspecialties and things like that. All of these subspecialties and specialties are already tested in the 4 main medical coding certification exams. So unless it's something completely separate from coding, like CDI, which is something completely separate, that's something completely different. Health data analyst, that's something that's completely separate and different, okay? CCDS, CCDSO, again, CDI, but completely different. Those are completely different. And again, I see a lot of people, like when they first get in the industry, they get taken advantage of because they get sold. Oh yeah, if you have a bunch of credentials, you're going to make more money and you're going to be ahead of the pack. No. Again, it comes back to experience, knowledge, competence. That's what it comes back to. Not however many credentials you have. And trust me, trust and believe, I would still have my CCA if I could. Ahima says I can't. That's the only reason why I don't have it. But if I could have it, I would still keep it because that credential was what got me through my career for 13 years. Then things changing in the background. So I had to change my certification. I got the CCSP first. Okay, Mastery of the Outpatient Setting. Well, I got that down. Okay, cool, no problem. 13 years in the industry, you know. I got that, you know. But then I said, okay, well, you know, with the channel and everything, I need to show that I have the mastery. So that's why I got the CCS. And that is a mastery medical coding certification because it says you have mastered not just outpatient coding, but inpatient coding as well. Okay. So as far as if you want to get into billing, you don't have to be certified at all to get into billing. You can just have a high school diploma or a GED and you can get into billing. Okay. Because they do train. You know, some companies, they do train and they're okay because again, you're just processing paperwork. But again, if you stroll up in there with your education and you say, well, you know, I've gotten my education, but I'm really interested in the revenue cycle. I really want to get into the revenue cycle. Because if you go in there and you say, well, I really want to be a coder, but I want to start off in billing first, they will not hire you. They will not hire you because of the simple fact that they know what you're trying to do. They know you want to be a coder. Now, I'm not saying this to be deceitful. What I am saying is you need a job and you also need to learn. And you never know. You may end up liking billing and you may say, okay, well, I'm still going to get, in this case, I'm going to get my CPC and then I'm going to go ahead and still continue on with this. Because me personally, I do think that billers should know about coding. A lot of them don't. But because it's not required, right? Because all they're doing is processing the paperwork. But again, if you're getting those denials and if you don't understand what you're denying, you may say, okay, well, I guess we can't get no money from this. And then that's it because you don't know about the coding. That's why you have to know. I mean, that's just me. Again, it's not a requirement in the industry. I wish it was, but it's not. So that's just one of those things that you should know about getting all these other certifications. If you're going to invest in a certification, get one for the first 2 years, my new people. Get one for the first 2 years. The reason that I say 2 years is because that's going to give you time to find your first job. And it's going to be able to give you time to like, okay, now I kind of figure out like, you know, what I want to do. Because when you're giving so much money to the organizations, that's less money that you're going to be pulling in. To me, I want to keep all the money I possibly can because the organizations are going to get enough money from me throughout my career, okay? Because of all CEUs and attending conference and things like that, you know, you're giving them that money. You know, I always I always go to conference. I've only missed a couple of them. You know, of course, when the pandemic happened, then I really didn't go. But I did go to Baltimore. That was my first one back. And I will be in Salt Lake this year because I am speaking this year at the National Convention in Salt Lake City. So I'm very excited. And it is on best practices for performing provider education. I am very thrilled. If you go to the Ahima website, you'll be able to see when I'm speaking a little syllabus, not syllabus, but a little snippet of like, you know, what's going to be covered in that topic. So I'm very excited. But I mean, again, I'm always paying for conference. This one, you know, it's it's taken care of. But that's the thing. I mean, I've given a lot to Ahima as well with memberships, with the dues and things like that. So again, I'm going to try to look for what is most beneficial to me and making sure that I learn more so that I can be of service to the organization. And this is me being of service to the organization. I'm just saying, you know. All right. Let's see. Um, Edmundo says, do you have a favorite specialty to code? Orthopedics and podiatry. Edmundo says, mine is ophthalmology. I thought I'd be bored with coding the two eyes, but there's so much more than glasses. There's over 13 subspecialties. And not only that, like the other conditions that affect the body that also affect the eyes. I'm just saying. Nicholas says, I have a background in pharma. We do a lot of coding to get prior authorization for approval, some experience in ICD-10, CM, always add the CM at the end, and especially on your resume when you're talking about your experience. Start in billing gives you a great edge when it comes to the payer guidelines. There you go. Crystal says, yay, Blue, I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited too. I'm very excited for this year's conference. This will be my first time speaking, and like I said, I'm very excited. So if y'all are out there, if y'all decide to attend, it's a great investment. I mean, going to conference, you will see and meet a lot of people. You'll do a lot of things, and you'll get a lot of stuff too, because of course they have the exhibit hall and everything, but it's a great time. I really love conference. Conference is so fun to me. And again, you meet people that you'll know for years. I've met quite a few people that I know, and every time I see them at conference, it's like a big old reunion. It's our own Super Bowl. Yeah. So, I think I touched on everything I wanted to touch on. Yes. Does anybody else have any questions? Romy says, I think being knowledgeable of coding and billing makes you a great asset to any organization. It does. It does. Rachel says, that's awesome, Blue. You're going to rock it. Thank you. Kathleen says, this career seems wonderfully challenging. Yes, it does. And it's challenging in a lot of different aspects, not just the coding part, but then, of course, your interaction with people. And not just any people. These are with your physicians, with your PAs, NPs, and everybody else that you work with. And then the dynamic between you and other coders, and then you and your supervisor, or you and your auditors. There's a lot of different facets to this industry, and there's a lot of different things that happen, and you're never bored. Trust me, you will never get bored. The only people that get bored are the ones that really kind of close in their thinking, and they don't want to think outside the box, and they don't want to explore and do other things. And sometimes people just want to get proficient in just one thing. I think that if you spend too much time in one thing, it can stunt your growth as a coder. I always try to do other things where I'm, even with my Patreons or whatever, if I have to think of something, I'll try to think of something from another specialty. I do a lot of injuries because I think that it is important, and injury coding can get you far in a lot of different places, right? So the ER injuries, right? Ortho, of course, injuries, podiatry injuries, family practice injuries, urgent care injuries. So that can really get you far, and especially if you get really comfortable with it, that's gonna really help you. Anything to give you the advantage of getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, as far as with these harder specialties that are not as easy, and it's not as black and white, and people don't really understand. There's a lot of people that don't understand. I see a lot of people make a lot of really simple errors. In my mind, they're simple errors, but they may not be simple because they don't really understand, and so sometimes you have to explain things, and you have to explain them again and again and again, like I do. But it's just one of those things. But it's a great field. I love it. It's not an easy field. but it is worth it. That's just what I would say, you know. But yes, absolutely, it is wonderfully challenging. And this is my video for the week. So again, no video tomorrow because Friday is off for the channel anyway. And then of course there's the weekend, and then it's back at it on Monday. Edmundo, that's for you. You really want to make me go in those books right now and talk about that? No. No, not going to do that. Not right now, because I'm going to wrap this one up anyway. Not that I'm dodging your question, but if you would have asked me earlier, I probably would have. But it's the end of the show. And usually when I start talking about specific codes, I start losing a lot of people too. So. But anyway, you're welcome. Kathleen, you're welcome. All right. So if anybody else has anything? No? Going once, going twice? I will. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. Stop listening to other people when they say, oh, I heard. Don't hear nothing. Stay the course. All right, guys. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.